Hey, we're back with another episode of the Basketball Enthusiast. We took some time out to take care of some very important things, and now we're back. And we're going to start talking about free agency. And we have a couple of questions here to ask the basketball enthusiast. What are your expectations for the Nuggets for this year?
Okay. Well, a lot of moves have happened in free agency. Obviously, between the last 2 or 3 months, a lot of different moves have happened.
Right now we're in September.
Yeah.
2020.
Right.
2022, excuse me. 2022.
Right, and training camp is right around the corner for the NBA teams. When it comes to free agency, the Warriors lost Gary Payton II, which I think was a big loss. He was a good player for them, but the Trailblazers the Trailblazers were a very smart team. They offered him a good deal that he obviously couldn't refuse in a bigger role. So I don't blame Gary Payton II or the Warriors, but I think he was very vital to them. Another player they lost who was key for them was Otto Porter Jr. He ended up signing with the Toronto Raptors. I would have liked for him to have joined the Miami Heat as a PJ Tucker replacement, but congratulations to the Raptors. He has a lot of connections in Toronto from different people on ESPN. I think it was Mark J. Spears who said Otto Porter Jr. actually his wife has family in Toronto, Canada. So that's probably one of the major factors for why he decided to join in the first place, the Toronto Raptors. But he was another good player for the Warriors that they lost in free agency. Another one was JTA, Juan Toscano Anderson, who signed with the Lakers, which is actually a really big pickup for the Lakers. Some people might look at it and go, well, but Juan Toscano Anderson isn't a game changer. He doesn't shoot threes at a 45% clip or rate. Well, I mean, he really doesn't have to shoot threes at a 45% clip or rate. But he does a lot of the little stuff that the Lakers need. Like he hustles, he plays very hard. He's on dive for loose balls. That's something that the Lakers really miss, because it was a mistake for them. They let Alex Caruso leave, who a lot of Laker fans like me we liked and are gonna miss him. He was a very vital piece for the team, but I hope he's happy in Chicago. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I believe the Lakers tried to pick up Juan Toscano Anderson. Another thing I wanted to say was, the Denver Nuggets, they picked up Bruce Brown Jr., who was a really good defensive player for the Brooklyn Nets, who they're gonna miss. Bruce Brown Jr., he does all the little stuff as well that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. He shoots it through pretty well. He plays defense, but he also hustles for loose balls. So he's gonna dive on the ground for loose balls if there's any in a close game situation. He's also going to be a very good backup to Jamal Murray, who's taking who rightfully so is taking his time off that torn meniscus in his knee. What other moves happened in free? Oh yeah, then obviously PJ Tucker signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. Another guy I didn't want to lose from a team, but congratulations to the 76ers. He signed I think it's a 3 or 4 year, $30 million deal, which PJ Tucker, he had every right to go get his money, which he obviously deserves. He plays very hard. He's one of the few players that I would want a team full of guys like him because he plays so hard. But congratulations to the 76ers. Other moves. The Memphis Grizzlies traded for Danny Green. If they decide to keep him, he's going to be a very important piece. He's a veteran. He can help the young guys on the team out on what it takes to win. But Well, oh, and obviously the New York Knicks, excuse me, they signed Jalen Brunson. He's a good player. I mean, I think they overpaid for him, but I think he's a good player. He's gonna help the Knicks. They really needed a point guard. They tried different ones, Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker, but I think Jalen Brunson's a good pickup for them. They just overpaid for him. Some other big moves really quickly was DeJounte Murray to the Hawks. He's going to help Trae Young out in the backcourt with his defense, his playmaking, and his shooting. Also, the Cleveland Cavaliers recently got Donovan Mitchell. That's a good pickup for them. The Timberwolves, I think, gave up too much for Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is going to help Karl-Anthony Towns when not having to play the center position as much, but I think they overpay for him. I don't know if 4 first-round picks is worth it, but that's just, the way I see things. Maybe the Timberwolves, they view Gobert as that guy who's going to help get them over the hump and possibly to a championship. But, yeah, those were some key trades those are key trades, and obviously with the Clippers, they didn't make any moves. They re-signed everybody they had from last year, which was very smart of them to do that, to keep their team intact. And one of the things that I think the Lakers should learn from, obviously letting guys like Alex Caruso go and Montrez who hustle and play hard for you and bring it every single night, is and a lot of guys have said this in other basketball videos as well, is chemistry is very important when you're trying to build a championship team. And not just the Lakers, but specifically this is about the Lakers, but other teams need to pay attention to this. It's very important to try to keep guys like Alex Caruso, who aren't superstars like LeBron or Kevin Durant, but guys who do their jobs to the best of their abilities. Is very important to keep those type of players around to help build chemistry. So when you try to bring in 4 or 5 new guys via free agency or via trade, it helps your team as opposed to hurting it, like what happened with the Lakers last year.
Okay, do you want to say anything else about the Lakers, or do you want to talk about the what's going on with the Nets currently?
Yes, the Brooklyn Nets, they've also kind of harsh to say they flew under the radar because they've been the biggest topic this summer other than the Lakers, but the Brooklyn Nets, they've made some moves. They started off by trading for Royce O'Neal, which I did not see coming from the Utah Jazz. He's a good pickup. I got a chance to watch him on the Jazz. He's a really good defender, Royce O'Neal. He shoots the 3 well. So that's one of the pieces that's going to help the Brooklyn Nets out. Then also, obviously, there was the whole Kyrie situation, whether they were going to give him a max or not, which, I understand from a certain aspect as, Kyrie, some of the things he had done with the Nets or whatever, so I understand that, but the main thing was the Kevin Durant situation, which was kind of crazy to me, as Kyrie opted in and ended up taking his money, and I was thinking, like a lot of people, oh well, so that means everything should be good on the Nets for the most part. And out of nowhere, Kevin Durant had announced he wanted to leave the Nets. He wanted to be traded to a different team, and I was trying to figure out one of the reasons why, but come to find out that one of his coaches was who Kevin Durant was very close with and worked with him, I believe it was in Oklahoma City for 3 or 4 years. Kevin Durant was upset that he was released from Steve Nash's coaching staff, and I completely understand that. Kevin Durant being upset because he's not just, a regular guy or whatever. He's his coach. He's known him for 3 or 4 years in the NBA. He was also, I believe, people said he was his shooting coach. So I don't think it was right for the Nets to just let him go and not tell Kevin Durant. At least, talk about it with Kevin or give him a heads up, as opposed to just letting a guy who's a very important member of the coaching staff who helps him out. I don't think that was right for the Brooklyn Nets to do that. And when you do business, I don't think that's a smart move or a very wise move to do business when you're doing business is because the NBA is a players league, but it's a players league to a certain extent where like you do want to keep your star players happy. So like if there's a certain coach that they like, or like you feel that coach really didn't help the team in your goal in trying to win the championship, at least talk it over with the star player. It's kind of a similar situation to the Lakers last year. Even though LeBron didn't ask for a trade, but Jared Dudley was let go without his permission, which was not right. The Lakers should have at least discussed it with him and said, well, let Jared Dudley go and go blend. But the Lakers decided to do what they did anyway. But yeah, I don't feel that I don't think that was right for the Brooklyn Nets to do that. At least talk about it with Kevin Durant. And but I also wasn't surprised by the Nets their trade package really quickly is once I heard the Nets trade package for Kevin Durant, I was thinking to myself like okay, they're really not trying to trade this guy. They're just because they're making his asking price unreasonable, knowing that other teams are going to say, wait a minute, we think Kevin Durant's one of the best players ever played this game, but I mean, to give up 4 first-round picks for him, plus give up 2 of our young players, then basically Kevin Durant was going to be on the team by himself with nobody, which was ridiculous. So I don't blame teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves before they did the Rudy Gobert trade. I don't blame the Timberwolves for saying no, because if I was their organization, I'd say the same thing. It makes no sense to give up my 2 stars and Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards for KD. And then I would, because theoretically you do the move, you just basically have KD and that's it. Then you can't surround him with anybody else, and that's not really a good basketball team. So yeah, so then once I saw that asking price, once I saw that asking price was unreasonable, I knew that they were going to try to keep him. But hopefully things can go well for the Nets this season.
Okay, so yeah, so just hope that everything, like you said, will go well for the Nets and Nuggets.
Yes.
And Lakers. Okay, so thank you for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you soon. God willing. Okay, be blessed.